You're listening to the Player Issue Podcast. Here's your host, Aaron Warwick.
What's up, my fellow collectors, and welcome back for another episode of the Player Issue Podcast, the actual Baker's Dozen episode. We're into number 13. I did say it was a Baker's Dozen episode on the last episode, which was actually number 12, trying to see how many people would pull me up on it, and I got 2 people, so it's good to see 2 people actually listen to what I say at the start of every show, so thank you very much to those 2 guys. Now, in case you haven't noticed, we've been away for 2 whole months. I didn't even believe we'd been away that long, but hey, here we are. So I'm really sorry about that, guys. We obviously had a lot of issues with my internet, which is now, thankfully, and yes, I can finally say, has officially been sorted permanently. If you do have a problem with your NBN out there, if you're having constant dropouts, don't do what I did and just sit around for 3 years and just keep putting up with it and keep paying a full price because it's ridiculous. Complaining to your provider doesn't do anything either, because I complained over and over, and God knows, I would have complained about 75, 80 times at least. And all that got me was constant technician coming out to check my internet, basically tell me that there was nothing wrong every single time, but there clearly was. I was dropping out literally every minute or two throughout the night and throughout the day even on occasion. And after 3 years I'd given up, and somebody finally told me on a Facebook page that I'd put out on one of the community pages to help me out, and what can I do to get it fixed, and someone said to hire one of the NBN technicians to come out on their own bat rather than from my provider. So I found the name and number of one, and he came out, and within 5 minutes he said he had found the problem, and for $250 he could fix it within 20-30 minutes. And I said, well, if you're going to fix it and I have no issues whatsoever from now on, $250 is absolutely nothing. I'll be more than happy to pay it. Lo and behold, he found that there was 2 lines going through the house, and my modem is plugged into a line that basically skews off from the main line, so there was a lot of interference and issues coming from that, which is what's causing the dropouts. So he removed the main line and he ran all new cable from our box over to what's now the plug on the wall for where our modem is connected, and absolutely beautiful. Have had 0 dropouts in a month now, so pleased to say that we're all good and gold as far as our internet goes, so we won't have any troubles as far as getting guests on for the future who need to come on with Skype. So keep that idea in mind as well. If you do have issues with the NBN dropping out all the time, to check your wiring in your house, and don't complain to your provider because it's useless. They won't do anything for you. So in saying that, we've been off for 2 months. My internet has been fixed for a month. We had another issue where I just couldn't get any guests on. And that's no fault of anyone's, except for the fact that it was Christmas. It was the busy time, so there just wasn't any opportunity to get anybody on. So took that opportunity to get a lot of material. As a matter of fact, we've got so much material, I will be getting guests on as quickly as I can so we can cover it in the close and opens of the shows, because I can't just go through all that today. You'll be here for about a week listening to me ramble on. So I'll break it up as much as I can. Still got heaps to go through today. We've also got our interview as well, which I'm sure if you've been on the Facebook page, you'll see a little bit of a snippet into who it's going to be. Obviously, a lot of you will have guessed already who it was, but I'm pretty excited to listen to that again. Haven't only listened to it once. I haven't even edited the interview yet. I'm doing this open before I edit it, so I'll get to have a listen to that again multiple times while I edit it. But hey, it was a great chat, and I'm sure you're going to love hearing from him. And so we'll get to that very shortly. We'll cover off a few things first. First of all, obviously, the massive fires that have been raging on for nearly 2 months now, I believe. It's absolutely horrendous to see. It's absolutely fantastic to see everybody who's pitching in, throwing up these charity auctions and just trying to raise as much money as they can for the Red Cross and also for any sort of wildlife rescue that they can do. I myself am doing the jumper auction for an uncut Connor Blakely 2019 training jumper. So that's just one whole sheet which has been completely sublimated onto the sheet which has not been cut. So it looks really cool and it's super rare. You wouldn't see it very often. If you jump onto the Player Issue Podcast page or my AFL Guernsey collection page on Facebook. You can see it there, and you can also buy some raffle tickets for that if you wish. It also is going to be a second prize for that as well, so 2 spins, and that is the Shane Kirsten 2017 home match worn with COA jumper. So we've already managed to sell 60 odd tickets, and we've raised about $270, so absolutely fantastic. And I love the fact that everyone jumps on it, because just like me, they have a love and passion for animals. I'm sure you've seen plenty of stuff around where it's just absolutely heartbreaking. I remember seeing a video yesterday, and it's actually making me a little bit throaty at the moment, just thinking about it. I saw a video yesterday where a guy walked up on a koala in the forest that all around him was just completely charred, burnt out, gone. There was absolutely nothing there. And this poor koala was burnt as well, but it was still alive, and it was sitting in a ball, just a curled up ball on the ground. Had its head in its hands, and it was crying. You can hear it crying quite loudly. And this guy came up on it and tried to give it a bit of a drink, and it took some drink, and it was just absolutely heartbreaking to see this stuff. And there's lots of other photos, and you see kangaroos and things trying to run away from it. Luckily they are pretty quick, but unfortunately they do get caught up in fences and things like that, and there's been some photos of kangaroos being caught up in fences and have been burnt to a crisp. So we've lost a hell of a lot of wildlife, and it's absolutely heartbreaking to see. I'm sure you understand as well. And I'm sure a majority out there are jumping on as many auctions and donations and things like that as you can, and try and help out these animals. So please do so as much as you can. If you jump on my page, you can see what I'm talking about as far as my auction, my lotto goes, and that's to raise money for WISE, which is wildlife, New South Wales Wildlife and Emergency Services and Education. So please check it out and donate if you can. So we need to save as many animals as we possibly can. We can't lose all these animals and do nothing about it. So I do also feel for anybody who's caught up in the fires, and I really, really hope you're all safe. And obviously it's also about having to get everything back up and running again. So I really hope you're able to do that and get back on your feet. And if we can provide any sort of entertainment for you at all, and then I really hope this is any sort of help whatsoever. So hope you're doing alright, and God bless. I'll move on to something a little less somber now. As far as what I picked up in the last 2 months, we'll leave until the close. I do actually talk about it a little bit with our interviewee today, so we'll leave it till a little bit later to chat about that. I've got 2 actually really important things I need to cover. First thing is I have noticed, actually a mate of mine just said that he had a couple of jumpers that he purchased off one of the Facebook pages go missing. And I asked him straight away, well, he told me the name of the guy, which straight away flagged me. I actually had an issue with this gentleman 4 years ago. He stole $360 of my money. I bought 5 jumpers off him, and he didn't send them. I continued to ask where it was, and he kept ignoring me. Eventually, he told me that the jumpers had been sent back to him. This is months later. That the jumpers had been sent back to him, and I said, well, I'm sick of waiting. I don't want to wait for him anymore, so can you refund me my money? And he said, yep, no worries. Claimed that he had done it, even sent me a screenshot of him sending me back the $360. I never received it. He clearly forged the screenshot. It's easy to do, to edit it. And it was just an utter bullshit. There's no other way to put it. But there are plenty of scammers out there. I urge you to be extremely careful. If you do not know someone, or you haven't dealt with them plenty of times previously, or they don't have a very good rep, or even if you're just not sure, or if you're like me, unless I've dealt with someone a lot or I know them really well personally, I will refuse to do anything other than PayPal goods and services. Now, a lot of people will say, please pay me PayPal family and friends. Now, this is okay if you know them, like I said, you know them really well personally, or you are very confident in them. But I would strongly urge to use PayPal goods and services. Now, the reason most people say they want to be paid in PayPal family and friends, there's only a couple of reasons why they want to. One is so they don't get charged the fee, the PayPal fee, which is fine. There's a very easy way around that, and that's just to go and just Google PayPal fees calculator. That'll tell you exactly how much they'll get charged for a fee. So you can just add on that amount, pay that fee. It's still paid goods and services, so you are covered. they are covered as well, but you mostly are covered. If anything goes wrong, you can get your money back, and they won't be paying that fee because you'll be paying that little bit extra. So yes, it will cost you a little bit more, but it doesn't matter. You're covered, and you've got that peace of mind. And then that way they don't get charged that fee as well. So everybody technically should be happy. There's only one reason why anyone would say pay me, PayPal, friends and family, and would not accept goods and services when you are paying the fee. And that is because they're a scammer. There is no other way around that. If they are true and genuine, they'll be happy to accept your form of payment. If they are not willing to accept goods and services payment and you paying the fees, I would steer clear. It's not worth the risk, and too often I am seeing that people are getting ripped off because they're paying direct deposit into their bank, which I do if I know the person, or yes, I asked for it if they know me, but I'm happy if they say, no, sorry, I want to pay goods and services PayPal, no issues whatsoever. I know that I'm not going to scam anybody, and I do have plenty of resources and reasons why I wouldn't do that. It'd be silly for me to do so. However, like I say, if you're not confident even in me paying PayPal, family and friends, or bank deposit, then do not do it. Pay by goods and services PayPal only. It is the only way you are covered. So please, 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 I urge you, pay goods and services PayPal only. It's just too often that people are getting ripped off, and my mate is getting ripped off a jumper right now. And as much as I want to tell everybody this guy's name because he is an absolute scumbag and he is still around, I'm not going to put it out on the waves right now. But if you would like to know, please message me and I'll gladly tell you the story. I'll even show you screenshots so you'll know that I am legit and he is a piece of crap and nobody should ever deal with this person. And there are plenty of others out there as well, so I'm sure you can all tell me your stories too. So if we could come up with a scammers list, that would be fantastic so no one can get scammed by these people. Okay, on to another lighter note now. I've been contacted by Select Football Cards, and I'm sure you all know about the Select Footy Cards and what they do. I'm not going to get into any real deep information as far as what we're going to do here, but I'm sure you can read through the lines. What they have asked is they have requested some jumpers that we may have, that we may be able to give them as far as they will buy off you. Or they also have plenty of jumpers that they have bought from auctions. So yes, if you notice that you have been outbid on some jumpers, chances are you may have been outbid by Select Football Cards. So don't feel too bad. There's plenty of money rolling around there. And they will have a fair amount of jumpers sitting in their warehouse right now that they can't use for any particular reason. And they would like to trade out for some other jumpers. And they're also willing to buy jumpers off you if they can't work out a deal. Like I say, I'm not going to tell you exactly the reason why they want jumpers, but I'm sure if you can figure it out, you'll understand exactly what I meant. I have given up one of my jumpers. And it's unfortunate. It is a top jumper, a top quality player, but I know exactly what's going to happen to it. I've managed to work out a deal where I get something really good out of it as well, so I'm happy to pass on this jumper, and I know what's going to happen with it, like I say. So it'd be kind of cool to say that was my jumper. So I'm pretty comfortable with it going. I wouldn't say cool with it, but I'm comfortable with what's going to happen with it. So they have requested that I put out a list of jumpers or clubs that they need. Some star players, either past or present, it doesn't matter. Preferably past, but they must be star players. You can't just have your general fringe player. They would like some top quality, high-end players. So what they're looking for is players from these teams, and if you have one of these jumpers, please contact me on the page, on the Player Issue Podcast page preferably, or if you know me personally, it's fine, you can contact my Facebook or my AFL Guernsey collection page. Just send me a message, tell me what you have, I'll go back to them, I'll see if I can work out a deal, what they have, and I'll let you know what they have, and you can work out a deal with them and see if we can get them the jumpers that they require and get you guys some decent trades or some money out of them as well. So these are the teams that they need: Gold Coast Suns, Hawthorn Hawks, North Melbourne Kangaroos, Richmond Tigers, St Kilda Saints, and the Western Bulldogs. So like I say, that could be any past player, which would be preferable, or it can be any current star player. So please, like I say, if you have a jumper from those clubs, let me know on any of the pages, any resources, and we'll work something out for you. So let's get on with our interview today. You may or may not have seen this guy around a fair bit. You may also not know his name because he's known by a couple of names. But so his name is actually Doug Slater. He's a good bloke. I met him last year. Good dude. Very young. He's quite a young collector, but he's certainly got his head screwed on. He knows what he's doing with his money, and he's got an aim for his collection, and he's really, really hell-bent on getting as many as he can from that specific region. So good on him. It was a great chat. I actually didn't realise he wanted to come on for some reason. I thought he didn't, and he was a bit shy about coming on, so I hadn't asked him, I believe, at all. Until he actually messaged me last week and said, "Hey mate, just letting you know that I would like to come on if you still want me as a guest." And I said, "Yeah, absolutely." So we teed it up and got it done. So this is the result. It's going to be about an hour and a bit's worth of a chat. It was a great chat. You guys will learn a little bit about specifics as far as a year and what you're chasing as far as non-club related products. So it was really, really cool. I thoroughly enjoyed having him on. So this is our chat with Doug Slater. All right, Doug, how are you, man?
Good, thanks, mate. Thanks for having me on the show.
No, it's been a long-winded one, and it's been all my fault because for some reason I thought you were a little bit shy to come on, but turns out I made a mistake there. But we've got you on, and we're happy.
I was pretty keen. I was just waiting for the invite. That's all.
Well, those out there, listeners, obviously, and there are 1,200 of them now, so no pressure on you there, Doug. But they'll know you by sometimes a different name, and I don't know if you know that. I'm sure you do, but you're often referred to as the Centenary guy.
Yeah, heard that a few times. I think I heard it on the very first podcast, actually. But
oh, really?
Yeah, at least now they can know my name, and hopefully they've got some things out there that they can team me up with.
Absolutely. So we'll get into that a little bit more as we go along. We'll start off with a very generic and general question that we always ask. Which team do you follow? I often do ask why, and when I first started doing it, I always wondered why I even asked that question, but as we've gone along, we've got different answers every single time, and they've always been something quite special. So I'm going to leave the why in there. So which team do you follow, Doug, and why do you follow them?
Yep. So I'm a Bombers fan. So no real reason to smile for the last 20 years for us, but very diehard Bombers fan. I try to hide that in my collecting, as I actually don't really spend that much time collecting Essendon stuff. But big Bombers fan. I started off as a Hawks fan, believe it or not, as a youngster, because my old man's a Hawks supporter, and then one of my uncles latched onto me and made me a Doggies fan, and by the ripe old age of about 4, I think my other uncle got onto me, and I haven't moved since. So, a little bit of chopping and changing, but a Don's man all the way now.
Right. So, I mean, I'm not fully versed on the rivalry, but as far as I'm aware, that if you were a Hawks man and went to a Bombers, if you're a little bit older, you might have been strung up, I reckon. Especially if Dermy got a hold of you.
Yeah, look, you're not wrong there, but I think the truth these days is Essendon pretty much have a rivalry with everybody. So it's like similar for probably Collingwood and Carlton, I guess. But it feels like every week is a rivalry round with Essendon. So
mostly with themselves, right?
Yeah, probably. Yeah, exactly. Just give us a panel already.
All right, so how did you start your collection, and what was your first player issue or even retail in your collection that got you kicked off?
Yeah, cool. So, I first started probably November 2016. I was overseas at the time, and I had a bit of spare cash and spare time on my hands, so I finally kicked it off, and I picked up one of those replica, some people call them fake, Essendon reenactment jumpers that you see all over eBay at the moment. So it didn't faze me too much at the time. It was just that was the very first game I ever attended as a youngster, and that was definitely the first jumper I was after. So once I got that, obviously that wasn't a player issue. I think my first player issue may have been a Sydney Swans Centenary jumper, which was pretty awesome because I haven't seen too many of them around since then. But yeah, sort of got the thirst there, and it hasn't really stopped ever since. So
yeah. So your very first player issue jumper was actually a Centenary jumper?
Very first player issue would have been, Sydney Swans Centenary jumper. In fact, I was just talking to the bloke on Messenger today, coincidentally, that sold me that. So
Yeah, right.
yeah, it was pretty good. So
That's a hell of a spot to start.
I know. Yeah, if only it was a grand final jumper.
Yeah. All right. So as I mentioned earlier, to some you're known as Doug, but most around the collecting circle know you as the Centenary guy. Now, you've already mentioned 96 and Centenary, but what is the significance of the 96 jumpers and what can you tell us about a particular season that some of the listeners may not know?
Yeah, cool. I could talk all day about that. So I suppose I'll start on a personal front there. So 1996 was the first year I ever started going to the football with my old man. And in fact, the very first game I ever went to was the reenactment game with Essendon and Geelong. So pretty special way to start going to footy. And my second game I ever went to was the State of Origin, Victoria versus the Allies. So that was pretty awesome, right? And obviously 1996, we had a limited edition AFL Shield on the jumpers, which I think looks amazing. And I can see your Fremantle jumper behind you there. Beautiful.
Got mine proudly on display behind me. Yep, indeed.
Beautiful, that one. So chasing a couple of those at the moment. But it looks, obviously the jumpers look fantastic. You had things like the Lightning Premiership and the Ansett Cup and the State of Origin reenactment series and just some absolutely beautiful jumper designs as well. It was a huge period of change in footy jumpers as well, in manufacturers and materials. I think that's pretty awesome. So I'm trying to collect at least one of all of those things as well. And in fact, the longer I go collecting, I'm always learning, and I sort of feel like I'm never going to finish. But got to keep trying. So, but amazing year in AFL history. Obviously very significant, and I know it's quite popular amongst all the other collectors as well. So I got a fair bit of competition on my hands there.
Most definitely. Obviously, being a once-off almost, I mean, obviously a whole year, but being a once-off, it's one of those things that it'll always, when it comes up, it'll always go for a significant price, or you're going to have to jump on it real quick because people will be quick to grab it. So I think you're lucky. I think you've done the right thing and definitely got yourself in good stead by creating your name out there as being the Centenary guy and your pages and always asking for more and more and more. And, it's going to work out for you. So I think you've done that really well. So, I mean, that's how I started my collecting, was starting off pages and putting my name out there and just trying to get people to contact me. So, yeah, you've done it really well. So, well done. Congratulations.
Thanks, mate. Actually, I think it was your page when I first started. I stumbled across your page, and I think you might remember, but I was asking you a couple of questions through that link there on Messenger, and just couldn't believe some of the jumpers you had there and things like that. Just that gave me the idea, and just being visible, it helps you so much because you'll relate to this as well. But the amount of people that have approached you via your Facebook page with jumpers that you probably never would have otherwise found it just makes it all worthwhile. So I'm always recommending that to other collectors to make themselves visible out there.
Yeah, absolutely right. And as a matter of fact, that jumper behind me, that the Centenary jumper that Doug was talking about, that came from a guy named Khan. Thank you, Khan. I know Doug's upset by that, but
I'll forgive him this time.
He actually reached out to me and contacted me about it. So again, it's about putting your name out there, and hopefully it'll pay back, and that certainly did for me this time. So it's the first Centenary in my collection, so I'm stoked to have it. And thank you, Khan. Sorry, Doug, but you'll get your shine one day, I'm sure. All right, so Centenary jumper is obviously very significant, and if you can get your hands on one, fantastic. If you can't afford it, let Doug know. But they're great jumpers to have. And if you don't even know what we're talking about as far as Centenary goes, have a look. They're 1996 jumpers, differently badged to all the previous seasons and post seasons after that. So they're certainly significant, and they look fantastic. So get a look out there, and there's a lot to research on them as well, because they're not just your plain old boring jumpers. There's a lot of significance about them as far as the material goes as well. Some clubs, they changed from your woolen to polyester, and there's just heaps of different stuff to find out. But like Doug said, we'll be here all day if we try to do that. So moving on.
Everyone can reach out to me anytime and ask me questions. I've got a fair bit of experience with it now. So I don't know everything, but I do know a fair bit about that particular season, and I'm always happy to help people out as well, even if there's nothing in it for me. But obviously, sell me all your Centenary jumpers. But yeah, ask questions if you have to.
Yeah, so you have a Facebook page. That's right, isn't it? So what is your Facebook page and where people can find you?
Yeah, so on Facebook, I've got a page there called AFL Centenary Year Collection. You'll type it in and pretty easy to find. I think it's got a James Hird in a long sleeve Centenary jumper as the profile photo. My hero and one of the most iconic probably images of 96, obviously Hirdy being a Brownlow medalist. I've also got an Instagram page, which is AFL Centenary Year Collection 1996. Check them both out. And like I said, ask questions anytime, because if I'm not getting something out of it, I'm probably learning something as well. So just love having a chat to other collectors as well. So
absolutely. So actually, you mentioned before that you were overseas at the time when you started collecting. What were you doing overseas? Were you living there, or were you just passing by, or?
Yeah, I was living over there. So I said I had a bit of extra time and money. So I was very fortunate that my work sent me over there to do some studies. So just living the student life again for a while, for 12 months. And couldn't complain about the pay, and had plenty of spare time. So I was absolutely smashing eBay and Gumtree, all those regular places where I suppose everyone starts off looking. And it was probably around that time, obviously, where I started to build some connections and got to know some people just through chatting to them, and started building a lot of leads, finding out where jumpers were, and it's all grown from there. In fact, initially I just started collecting 90s retails. Like, I knew I wanted to do the Centenary year, but 90s retails was sort of the little niche I was going with, and that's very similar to what Andy Munro is doing at the moment, actually. But as I went, hi Andy. As I continued, more centenaries would pop up, and I would just continually upgrade. And I think I recycled probably 90% of my collection within the first 24 months, and it looks completely different. So every year I do what I call a family photo of all the jumpers laid out on the ground. It's it's actually a pain in the ass to do it, and it's very tiring, but I'm due to do one next week, and it's sort of really good to compare the photo each year, because it does change significantly.
Yeah, I was actually going to ask you that question later on, because I walked outside. Try it again. I walked outside earlier, and the weather was absolutely perfect out there. The sunlight was gorgeous, and someone brought it up during the week to me after I said I bought 105 jumpers this year alone. Which is absolutely mental when I think about it. But they said that I should get out there and take a family photo of mine out on the grass. And I said hell no for a start. But even just when I went out there earlier, I was thinking, oh man, this would be a nice day to get the drone up in the air and take a drone photo. It would look gorgeous. But then I thought 105, no, that's not going to happen. But that was a question I was going to ask you later. So there you go. Thank you for answering that.
Yeah, look, it's actually tiring, because when you think about it, you're constantly kneeling down and putting them all in position. It's probably equal to doing 1,000 squats, I reckon.
Yeah, it is definitely a workout for sure.
Yeah, it is. And I did it once.
So I've done it once, and I did David Mundy's collection. There was only 24 at the time, and I was absolutely rooted by the end of that.
Yep.
So we'll never do it again. All right, so moving on. Do you have an ultimate goal for your collection? I know that's very hard to say, being that it's a very niche spot that you're in, but there's got to be something at the start that you wanted to end with, or was it just I'm just going to just get whatever I can, or is it just built?
Yeah, look, I've known it for a pretty long time now. The niche 1996, I wanted to collect every club, every jumper, every design, every manufacturer and material type that produced jumpers for each club. And obviously also I want to make sure I've got a player issue jumper of all of those as well. So that is very ambitious, but if I look back just 2 years ago, it's come a long way even in just that time. So it is doable. But I have to admit I've had to get pretty creative in how I try to find these jumpers now. So but that's part of the fun, right? The fun is the thrill in the chase. it'll probably last quite a few more years to get the final jumpers, but I'm sure I'll get there in the end. So yeah, just to answer your question, is every single jumper from 1996 season, all teams, and even officials and reenactment kit as well.
Yeah. Yeah, you mentioned officials. Actually, looking at your page just earlier while I was sitting on the dunny actually doing some research, and I saw that
Yes.
you had some of the fantastic, and I'm going to call them fantastic, the 96 umpiring shirts with the stripes from corner to corner. They are tremendous.
They are absolutely fantastic, and I was very fortunate there because when I was in school, my year 7 SOS teacher was an AFL umpire, and
Oh, right.
that was fantastic going to class every week and asking how his games went on the weekend. And yeah, I remember ripping into him one Monday morning because he paid a free kick against Essendon over at Football Park against Port Adelaide and cost us the game. So, but anyway, I reconnected with him, and he did over 300 games, and he was more than happy to contribute to my collection, and he did it for free as well. So I was just really grateful for that. And he's gone above and beyond as well. He's reached out to his connections, and he managed to get me the the long sleeve baby blue boundary umpire uniform, which is pretty sensational, and the tracksuit jacket that they wore as well. So pretty epic from his part.
Yeah, tremendous. It's amazing when I think back to 96 from watching as a kid myself. I was been 11 or so. That's what I really remember was how the umpires and the goal umpires looked in that tracksuit. Well, I'll never forget that as well.
Yeah, it was phenomenal. And I suppose while we're on the topic, that was the only year that umpires wore long sleeves as well.
Right.
Probably the only year they had the baby blue for the boundary umpires. And I also managed to get a goal umpire lab coat jacket as well, which is just bloody unreal. So, yeah.
Yeah, definitely worth having a look at. I would love to see that. We've got to see a photo of that.
Yeah.
All right, man. So how many do you have in your collection as far as Centenary goes?
Okay, yep. So I'll start with, I've got 110 jumpers in my collection. So pretty much what you added to yours last year. That's my total collection.
Yep.
And 2/3 of those are Centenary jumpers. So it works out to be just over 70 now.
Yep.
And 2/3 of my collection as well are player issue. So
yeah, nice. That's an insane amount of jumpers for one season's worth of football when you think about it.
Yeah. Well, yeah, 70 odd were 96, and I suppose the other, 30, 35 jumpers there are mostly 90s jumpers. But a couple of recent Essendon jumpers as well, I guess, because I try to keep up with the Dons as well. But that's just a little side niche I'm working on, not taking it too seriously. Just really, I'll probably sell those if it means I can fund some Centenary jumpers. So
right.
It's been good.
Yeah, it's amazing hearing everybody's stories and how different everybody is. Some people that we've already talked to are purely diehard their team and nothing else. They won't touch anything else. So it's very different to hear something from another side where it's I'll collect everything. It doesn't matter. I'll even get rid of my own team. It's very interesting. But no.
Very, very different indeed. And as I said earlier at the start, like I haven't actually focused that hard on Essendon the whole time. I mean, there's been a couple of Essendon jumpers I went really hard for, but they've really actually taken a back seat because I spent so much time chasing, your mob or the Saints or the Hawks, those jumpers that are so hard to find, and sort of worked against me in some ways because now there's collectors that are swooping up all these jumpers that I really didn't spend any time looking for. So
yeah, without doubt. I'll get onto that question actually. What has been the hardest jumper to track down that you've been able to add to your collection?
Oh, okay, that's a good question. The hardest jumper, the one that's coming to mind is probably a long sleeve royal blue away West Coast Centenary jumper. Look, when I say hardest, I probably mean that's probably one of the rarest.
Yep.
I got that one off eBay, so I can't say it was too hard to track down because it was just there in front of me, but managed to get that. And I don't think I'll find another one of those. So that was pretty awesome. But I do have a Fitzroy reenactment jumper, which that's got a pretty good story behind it. So that was incredibly difficult to find, and a Fitzroy preseason long sleeve jumper as well, Matty Primus match worn jumper. So I would probably say they're three of the hardest ones that I would have had to find, and they won't be going anywhere anytime soon. That's for sure.
Yeah, so don't everyone start jumping down Doug's throat for those ones.
Yeah,
I've
no
actually
price.
seen two of those West Coast jumpers myself. They're both on Gumtree, and I believe they were friends that were selling them because they had them up at the same time, different people, but both of them were framed, and they were selling them for $150 and $100 each, which was insanity. And obviously, I jumped on it within 3 minutes, and they were already gone. So,
Oh
yeah,
wow.
you can see how hard these things get, especially West Coast fans as well. Uh, some of them are super quick, and like I say, 3 minutes and they're already gone. Both of them. Yeah, it was upsetting, but I know they went to Eagles fans, so yeah. In the end, I guess
Yeah.
it doesn't matter.
Some of these clubs collectors are phenomenal. Like you've got West Coast, those guys go pretty hard for their jumpers. And I tell you what, I'm so glad that Port Adelaide didn't exist in 1996 in the AFL.
Yeah, no kidding.
That would be a challenge in itself amongst those guys. And yeah, probably the one club in '96 that I want to finish as soon as possible is the Demons, because I just want to get out of the big three's hair. Joel Williams, Dave, and Paul Walter.
Yeah,
They're tough competition, those guys, but they're good blokes as well. They've helped me out a fair bit. So
yeah, good.
it's been good.
They're definitely fiends, those three, but good blokes.
Yeah,
All right,
absolutely.
so this might be a tough one for you, but I hope you got an answer because I think it's going to be really, really cool. What is your favorite design from a club from your 96 jumpers?
Yeah, great question. And I did think about that because I knew it would come up. It is definitely going to be the Footscray away jumper from '96,
Yeah,
the Diamond Bulldog design.
Yep.
But it's a tie with the green Freo away jumper as well. So
Tremendous answer.
absolute dead heat, that one. And I've only got two mock-up jumpers in my collection, and it is those two designs because they are just so hard to find, and I had to have one in there. So they are just so nice, those designs, and I hope Freo brings it back, and I'd love to see the doggies bring that one back as well. So that would be awesome to see.
Yeah, that doggies jumper, I had a videotape of a 96 preseason game. I believe it was the doggies and West Coast. And I watched that when I was a kid. I must have watched that 30 or 40 times. And I think I was still a bit of a West Coast fan back then, but I was obviously Freo by that stage. But that doggies jumper, I just kept watching it just because of that, because it looked tremendous. I loved it.
Oh, absolutely mesmerizing. I've got one over my shoulder
there it
here
is.
on the sky. There you go. There's my two favorites. So
Yes, that is beautiful.
absolutely.
That 97, the 96 Frio they're talking about, the green one. I've actually got a 95 and a 97, so I have a little bit of a gap in my collection there. So you'll have a little bit of competition with me when one comes up, but
Yeah, that's right. Yep. Gloves are off.
Also, a little bit of exclusive for you. We ran a poll on the page, on the Player Issue podcast page a little while back about the Frio jumper for this season, the retro design, because it looks like they would like to run it again. And the green jumper actually won by about 3 votes.
Oh, so close.
However, the club has decided that they may not swing that way for the actual jumper itself. So we'll see how we go, but it looks like the decision has been made already. So we'll have to wait and see there. But I reckon that we may not see the green one this year, which may be a little bit sad for some people, but if it's going to be which one I think it is, then I'm stoked.
Yeah. I think I won't ruin the surprise. I think I know the one you're talking about, but you can't really go wrong with retro Freo jumpers. Really, they're all so nice and so different to everyone else in the comp. And I think last year when Freo played Essendon, actually near the end of the season, they wore their their old purple retro strip.
Indeed, yep.
It's a picture of Adam Chera at training wearing Todd Ridley's Todd Ridley's old away green Freo jumper.
Indeed, yes.
That was pretty nice to see as well.
It was incredibly nice, and it wouldn't be remiss of me to have immediately messaged Adam Terra about that jumper. But of course, it wasn't him. It wasn't his. It was one of the Fremantle trainers who actually owned that jumper, and
Oh, there you go.
he refused to let me have it. So, oh well, moving on. All right. So we've heard your favourite design. Bit of a different question, but it is one that I don't mind asking. Would you have a favourite sponsor combination from your jumpers, from any club?
Favorite sponsor combination? Jeez, that is a tough question. Yeah, on the spot.
That's what we do.
I'm biased, but I love the speed kills on the Bombers. I also love the Tuis on the Melbourne jumpers.
Okay.
Yeah, look, and I do love the Yakka as well, actually. Look, on the spot, I'd have to say those three, but I may be missing one there.
Yeah. I'm just thinking back to the old Yakka commercials back in the day, and it was just so powerful. Even watching them, however, was so awfully, terribly cheesy, but just the sound of the noise of the Yakku, it was amazing.
Yeah. I remember it clear as anything. All the monster trucks and the hard hats and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah, That's it. I might have to actually put a clip up on the page so everyone can listen to it, because it was tremendous. Even though we were laughed at as a club, but no, we did it well, I think, back then. But no, you're right. If you think back to Essendon in the 90s, you can't think of anything but speed kill. So, yeah, I do thoroughly enjoy that myself. So, yes, good choice. Well, all right. So you mentioned as well earlier that there are some drawbacks and advantages of being a collector of non-specific clubs. What would be the biggest drawbacks or advantages, either way, of collecting from all teams rather than just your one specific team?
Yeah, all right. So the drawback is pretty clear. So using my Essendon situation, I really didn't spend that much time on Essendon to begin with, right? Like I divide my time amongst 15 other clubs that existed back then, plus trying to catch all the other stuff like umpire gear and, Legends games that were played on the reenactment night between Essendon and Geelong, and there's so many branches to chase. So I guess Essendon got neglected a bit there and missed out on quite a few of those jumpers. So I'm sort of tracing my steps there now and got a few good leads that I'm working on. So that'll make me feel a bit better about that end. But I suppose one of the positives, though, of collecting all jumpers is you make so many connections with other collectors from other complete different backgrounds, and the amount of times they've helped me out, for example, when they might get duplicates or triplets of their jumpers, they so many times they've approached me and just said, hey, do you want this? And usually offer a very reasonable price as well. So that's a great case of collectors sort of looking after me. And the other side to that is whenever I see things that fit their collection mold, I always flick them out to them as well. So we work in tandem there, and I think it's one of the best things about the collecting is all the networks you make. You can look on Gumtree and eBay as much as you want, but the networks and the friendships and those connections are really what really thrust you forward in your collection, at least my experiences. And so, yeah, super grateful to everyone that's helped me out, and hopefully they continue to help me out. But that's definitely the pro side of it, because there is a lot of time you could spend if you want to chase these really rare items from 15 other clubs on top of the one you support,
Yeah, absolutely. Like, just from collecting Fremantle, if I was just to collect Fremantle only and just stick to that, my networking collection would be pretty small. Like, I know of maybe 2 or 3 collectors in Fremantle, but they're not heavy collectors, certainly not to the scale that I am. But yeah, so the friends and the collection, the network that I have made certainly would never have happened unless I collected every team or was really invested in collecting and just being involved with every team. So yeah, you're absolutely right. And think that's the way to go. Even if you're not going to collect every team, it's still trying to get yourself involved in other teams' jumpers as well. Maybe just on the Facebook pages, just watching what everyone does or talks about, or it's just trying to get yourself out there and known. I guess I don't know what I'm really trying to say here, but really, yeah. If you just want to be a part of the networking, you've really got to get your knowledge up a little bit about almost every club. So, yeah.
Absolutely. And like there's a couple of Facebook pages out there that really facilitate those relationships you can build. And to be quite honest, there's a lot of club dedicated collectors that do have some hidden gems sitting in the back of the wardrobe. Like it's not just, the Port Adelaide guys collect Port Adelaide, Carlton guys collect Carlton. It's they do have other clubs out there as well. So if you help each other out, you never know what'll get put under your nose at some point, because it's happened to me so many times.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, people will look at me as a Freo collector with 180 odd Freo jumpers, but what they don't know is that in the background I have a 97 Robert Harvey match worn, or a Gary Ablett 2017 match worn. Like, I do have some beauties in the collection. So unless you're asking questions, you're really not going to know. So yes,
Exactly right. And no doubt, if there was, for example, if there's a dedicated St Kilda collector out there and they're looking really hard for that exact jumper and they're willing to pay for it, if you had to one day get rid of it, which I'm not saying you would, because you'll probably keep that forever, but a collector will often approach them first just to see if they can get a deal done, look after the other collectors, and then happy outcome for everybody.
Yeah, absolutely. I have had a gentleman by the name of Michael. Can't pronounce his last name, so we'll just leave it at Michael. Who is a dedicated saying, yes, that's it. He's actually going to be on the show very soon, so bit of a heads up for you is there. But he's contacted me about that specific jumper multiple times, so I know if I ever offered it to somebody else, he'd probably castrate me. So it's the connections you got to make.
Absolutely. I talk to Michael a lot as well, and I've got a couple of Saints Centenary jumpers. In fact, you linked me up with one the other day, so thank you very much for that.
You're welcome.
If they leave my collection, they're pretty much only going in one direction. So, same sort of thing, just there.
Yep, absolutely. So you mentioned the drawbacks that you have. I just thought of one as you were speaking there. A drawback for me, sometimes, not all that often, however, is cash. Now, if a jumper comes up for you that you have to have, that is a must, it's a want for your collection, what then happens if you can't afford it at the time? Have you had that happen to you?
Yep. So I guess a lot of times I've had a little bit of an idea there's going to be, a bit of an expense coming up on the horizon. So I can usually prepare for it by offloading some of my other gear. If I'm not prepared and it's something I consider a reasonable price, or even if I have to overpay a little bit, I'll probably just fork it out, and then I'll recoup the costs a little bit later, just through selling various things. And I'll try put myself through a little bit of a quiet patch, just without committing to too many purchases. I'm sure that you're the same. You'll probably have a list of leads that you like to chase when things are a bit quiet. I certainly have a pretty big list that I've put together over the last 3 years, and I guess I just won't push too hard on chasing those leads for a while if I've had a big expense that came up. That's pretty much it. And like I said, I'll recoup the costs of an urgent purchase by just selling things in slower time.
Yeah. So it often comes up for me as well where I can't afford something, but I have to have it. I'm lucky that I have quite a number of jumpers that I'll have aside that I can maybe part with, and then I will have to, think, is it worth getting rid of? And I'll get rid of one to pay for another one that I'm desperate for. So I have no issues doing that whatsoever. I know some people do for some reason, but that's them. But obviously, they're probably a little bit better off than some of us. So it's not, you just got to do what you got to do sometimes.
Exactly right. And I've got a whole bunch of 90s jumpers that are not 96 jumpers. And obviously, for me, they're going to be the first ones that disappear if I need to sell some of them. because obviously they'll probably be worth a little bit of money that'll contribute to what I need. But it is hard to let them go. I have to admit, you get on, they're so hard to find, and I don't know, it sounds weird, but you get a bit of an attachment to these things because they're, yeah, I don't know, it's a nostalgic thing. I just love them. So it is sad to see some of them go, but at the end of the day, I'm only letting it go to bring something better in. So that's what gets me through those times.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right there. And yeah, it is almost like a little family you've garnered there somehow. But you're right, you do love them, and you are sad to see them go sometimes. So no, I feel you. I try to get rid of all connection that I have to some of my jumpers when I let go of them. I'm usually pretty good at doing that. As soon as I've let them go, I've forgotten about them, and then sometimes when they come back around, oh shit, I forgot about that. So I usually do it pretty well, but there are some that I just cannot let go, even though I've tried. I just can't part with them. So I feel you. So other than 1996 jumpers, obviously, do you have any older ones than that?
Older than 1996? Yeah, not too many. I've got a 1995 Fremantle inaugural season long sleeve jumper, the away design.
Nice.
Beautiful jumper, number 27. So Jay Burton, I think it was.
Yes, indeed. Well done.
I also have a 1994 Mark Harvey jumper, which is a beautiful Essendon jumper there.
Yeah.
They're probably the two oldest ones I've got, really. I've cleared off anything else that I had that was a bit older than that. So, yeah, it's pretty much 90, well, besides those two, 96 onwards.
Yep, fair enough. All right, so this is a tough question for a lot of people, and I reckon you've probably written a few down, thankfully. So, your top 5 or your top 10 favorites in your collection, what have you got?
Okay, I did write it down, but my computer shut itself before this interview. So here we go. Memory test. Number one is very easy for me. I got James Hird Brownlow year Centenary match worn jumper from when he was selling all his jumpers out.
Mm-hmm.
Fortunately, that one survived because they were sold a few times through various auction houses. Okay. Dropped the prices, and suddenly it was in my range, and I went for it. So that is hands down my favorite, just due to the significance of it as an Essendon diehard. Without being in any particular order for the rest, I'll just reel a few off the top of my head. So I've got Boomer Harvey's 1996 away long sleeve jumper. So I think it was his first season with the Roos, and it's the hopping kangaroo design.
Yeah, I love that.
Kangaroos were with Nike that year, so it's all sublimated. It's just a beautiful jumper. So absolutely love that. I mentioned before I've got the Fitzroy reenactment jumper. It's a sport wool material as well, with number 1 on the back. That is just an extraordinarily rare piece, that one. So I was looking long and hard for one of those for years, and finally got one through the strangest of avenues, but looking back now, so that is definitely in there. Probably the West Coast one that I mentioned earlier, the Glenn Jakovic long sleeve royal blue away jumper, 1996. Absolutely love that. And then, what else do we have? Fitzroy pre-season long sleeve. I think I mentioned that earlier as well. Just an absolutely beautiful jumper. And I would have to say the St Kilda long sleeve reenactment jumper falls in there as well, because talking to some of the people involved in St Kilda, they not even they were aware that the long sleeves were around back then. It was just an extremely rare jumper, and it's very, very beautiful as well.
Yeah.
For those who can't picture it, it's like the candy stripe design, the thin red, white, and black vertical stripes on the Saints jumper. It's a sport wool material as well, which is pretty much unique to 96. It did exist in a couple of other seasons around that time, but another really rare jumper that I can't see myself letting go of that one anytime soon. So there's a handful for you, but I could go on all day about favorite.
What about your non-96 jumpers? What are some of your favorites there? if you have any, or do you want to get rid of them?
Yeah, non-96. You're going to hate me for this one, but
I am. I can feel it already.
yeah, it's a 3D Anchor Clive Waterhouse jumper. Wow, that is just a sensational design. Clive Waterhouse, who can forget Clive? That thing is just a thing of beauty, and I recommend people on the page, on the podcast, go to my page and have a look at it, because it is just a really nice design, that 3D anchor.
Yep.
Yeah,
I've had a couple of that design myself, but yeah, one who played one game for us, so to get a Clive would have been amazing, and I was that close to having it in my hands. So it's more
mate,
upsetting
yeah.
every day.
I've been in that situation a few times, so I know exactly how you feel, and I'm sure one day it may leave my collection and head your direction. So
I'm always on the lookout for something I can give to old Doug, so I can get that jumper in my collection. So
yeah, I'll hold it for as long as I can until the day comes.
And then I'll find whoever else gets it and kill them very quickly.
Yeah, completely fair.
All right. So, what are some of the ways, or the odd ways, I guess, that you've found some of the jumpers in your collection? Some of the more different ways that you've had to get a hold of some.
Okay, so I mentioned a minute ago the Fitzroy reenactment jumper that I got was just bizarre. So I'll start off by saying I don't really tell or share with a lot of my friends that I do collect footy jumpers, right?
Okay.
Just those that maybe have a bit of an interest in that sort of thing or love their footy, I'll let them know about it. So there's a guy that's a contractor at my work, and I keep him in the loop on new jumpers that I add, and he plays for Fitzroy in the Victorian Amateurs Football League as well.
Okay.
In fact, he was a captain for the club just 2 years ago. And yeah, they had a function at the Fitzroy Footy Club one night, and he noticed a guy wearing a Fitzroy reenactment jumper as his costume for the evening.
Jesus.
And so Monday comes along and he calls me going, "Oh, Doug, this guy was wearing a Fitzroy reenactment jumper." And I was just thinking it would be one of those cheap knockoff ones on eBay, because they're all over eBay at the moment. And I said, "Oh, yeah, just send me a photo." Wasn't getting too excited. And the photo came through, and I could just see the sports wool material that Seckham had in that, the mid 90s. And it's a very distinct look. You can see sort of horizontal lines across the jumper that really give it away.
Mm-hmm.
Everything about it was signed by the whole squad, and I just had to have that. So I contacted that guy, and it took me a few weeks to convince him, but I met up with him and I gave him a really fair deal as well, and we both left happy. And that was just a really random way to find a jumper. In fact, the jumper actually found me, really.
Yeah.
That would be right up there, given how hard I had looked to find that specific jumper and had no luck. And then just without doing anything really, it just fell into my lap. So that would be the most unique story, but it's a good topic to discuss as well, because like we said earlier, you talk about Gumtree and eBay, all those typical ways that we go about it day to day. I've sort of gone off that a bit now, because I'm at, I suppose, the pointy end of the collection where I'm trying to find really specific jumpers. So I've had to be a bit creative. So things like just formally going to the clubs to talk to heritage managers and stuff like that has been incredibly useful, because they have past player managers and contacts which can help you, or perhaps they have spare jumpers in their in behind the scenes at the club that aren't part of their formal collection. Things like having your Facebook page and your Instagram page is incredibly useful, because you can contact players as well. I suppose on that topic, I was hesitant to contact ex-players originally, until I sort of realized how many people were doing it. And so I thought I'll give it a crack, and it's probably not a really good strike rate in terms of success, but it has produced some absolute belters in the past. So I've sort of continued down that path. What else is there? The networks is the most powerful one, obviously. And we've touched on that already.
Yeah. Yeah, I think what you mentioned there about contacting past players, etc. What I've found with doing so is I think that they don't even realize how big that jumper collecting actually is, and some of them just don't understand as to what we actually want out of them or are asking for, I guess. And they don't even half the time they don't even keep their old jumpers, so they really just don't understand. But I guess nowadays, if I'm talking to a current player, for instance, like I talked to a current player a couple of weeks ago, and I told him how big my collection was, and I asked him if anyone else in the team collected their jumpers, and surprisingly, he said no one else actually collected their stuff, which I was very surprised about. I thought that even now that someone would have been able to figure out that, if I keep some of these around, they might be worth something in the future, or, I might be able to give these to charities or whatever in the future, and I might be worth something. But I guess I don't know if they don't put worth in themselves, or maybe, I don't know. Honestly, I don't know what it is at this stage. I might have to get a player in and talk to him about it, so and see how I'll go with that. But I reckon I can get one on. But yeah, sometimes it is a bit hard that some of them just don't, I guess, really understand how big this collecting game actually is.
Exactly right. Well, I suppose when I started just 3 years ago, right, I reckon the collecting community now is at least 3 times bigger than it was.
At
It
least,
is
yes.
at the approximate, but I think it's about right. It's grown significantly. And as for talking to ex-players, I figure from my experience, it's a broad response you get back. So some of them will just be outright, very respectful, but say, sorry, I just want to keep all my jumpers. And that's fair
Mm,
enough. I would probably be the same.
mm,
But others are just like, what do you want? And how much do you want to pay for it? And
mm.
they will let anything go.
Yeah,
And then you get sort of a sweet spot in between for them where they'll just reason with you. They might let go one or two, but they'll prefer to hold on to the rest. And I found they're usually really nice to deal with, and they're happy to chat about their careers and stuff. But yeah, you really don't know what you're going to get from them in terms of jumpers, though. Had a really unique experience today, which I actually flicked you the message earlier. I was on the Brisbane Lions buy and sell page, and Doc Wheeldon commented tagging Mark Zanotti. And so I replied to his comment saying, do you have any 1996 Essendon jumpers? Because I suppose not many people know that Darren Wheeldon he went to Essendon in 96, but had an injury and never actually played a game. So, and yeah, he got back to me, and now I'm having a chat with him today, and it looks really promising. So, should be able to tee that one up later in the week. So,
that's
how
incredible.
good's that?
That is absolutely incredible. I'm gonna have to jump on a few more of these players and see if I can find them on Facebook. I think.
Yeah, it's well worth it. But the thing with Facebook as well is, I suppose it's the privacy settings. You send a message, it'll probably go to their
Yeah.
secondary inbox, I suppose their spam folder. So you're sort of relying on them checking that. I have to say, I've probably had maybe 10 replies from players, maybe about 6 months after I actually sent a message.
Yeah.
And that's because they've probably stumbled across this other inbox and gone,
Mm.
oh shit, there's a guy there that wanted something. And yeah, so I sort of hope more of them will get around to that,
Mm.
and stumble across these old messages I sent in the future. Never know what will happen, but you can only try, right?
That's it. Yeah, I've actually sent a message out to Neil Mildenhall about this jumper behind me, so wanted to get
Oh,
some
great.
thoughts on that one. So hopefully he'll get back to me very soon, and we can have a good chat about it and find out about the only number 50 to ever, or the only number 50 to ever play at Fremantle. So that'll be something pretty
Absolutely. Get him
interesting.
on the show.
Absolutely. Another question we always ask on the show, well, I believe, at least that I remember, where do you store all your jumpers? You've got a few now, so where do they all go?
Yeah. So at the moment, I've got them in my house. I've got a study. I call it a study. It's technically a third bedroom if you ask the real estate agents, but I've got them locked up in here. So tried to make it as secure as possible, but I think I'll be putting them into storage pretty soon, just because we're short on space in the house, and with a collection this size now and some valuable things, I'd rather have them somewhere very extra secure. So that's sort of in the next I suppose, month or two, I'll plan to do that. And we might be moving interstate in the near future anyway. So that's probably the best move, I reckon.
Yeah, Perth's a beautiful place to live.
Anything's possible at this stage.
Got a great stadium over here too.
If only Essendon could perform interstate.
Yeah, well, they beat us last year, so they're not doing too bad over here.
Yeah.
All right, so this is a question that you may not want to answer, depending who is around you or who will be listening. But what is the most you've ever spent on a single jumper?
Yeah, that's a good question. Well timed as well, because the missus just got home. So,
Perfect.
but I can answer that. It's undoubtedly the James Hird jumper.
Yep.
So, from memory, that was 1,450, but that was prior to the service fee as well. So I think that would bump it into probably the 1,700 mark. But for something as significant as James Hird to me, I was more than happy to do that. He's a champion of the game, champion of Essendon, and despite what he went through in his coaching part of his career, he's just an outright legend. And I grew up with his number on my back, and I had to have that. So, yeah, no harm done there. I was very happy to fork out for that.
Yeah, it's sometimes it's well worth getting that money out there just to have something that you've been chasing or wanting all your life. So money isn't always the biggest factor, unfortunately. Well, fortunately, rather.
Yeah,
If you can spend it, then you can just do it. I think there's more to the point.
That's right. Well, originally they were trying to market that one for $3,000 to $5,000 on I think it was Moss Green or something, and then it obviously passed in, and they had another go at auctioning it, and it passed in again, and then it was listed for 900, and I thought, that's unreal if I can land that. And then I had to go to Brisbane, so I dialed in on auction day to Abacus Auctions, and I should shout out to Dave Causey. Thanks for linking me up when this one appeared in their catalogue, because otherwise I probably wouldn't have seen it. But they dialed me in for the auction, and there was another bidder that we were just in a bidding war all the way up to my final winning bid, and I was probably 2 bids away from losing out on that one, because I would have really hit my limit. And I was getting pretty nervous in that moment, but it all worked out in the end. So happy days.
Beautiful. All right, so how much could you say that you've spent on your jumpers entirety?
Yeah, that's a really hard question. So there's 2 different things here. How much I would have spent in total is very different to what I think it's worth at the moment. So if I say spent, I'd say 110 jumpers, probably an average of, call it 250, I guess.
Yep.
We're probably looking at just over 25 grand there, which sounds like an outrageously large amount of money. But, when you're talking 110 jumpers, that's those numbers add up fairly quickly, don't they?
Definitely.
Also, it's been a bit of a journey. Like I said at the start, I've recycled a lot of the jumpers I started with, and I got a lot of those really cheap 3 years ago. Like, it's very different now than what it was even just 3 years ago. So selling some of those jumpers and making a little bit of a profit on them sort of helped fund the new ones as well. So it's sort of it's really hard to actually calculate the net spend that I've done to date. I don't think I want to know.
That's the answer I was looking for, really.
Yeah.
So actually, it is funny that you mentioned that your average that you put on the jumpers is 250, because a lot I've spoken to already, and even myself, because of the niche that you are going for, it's always going to work out to be a bit more. So we put about $100 average on ours, which is less than retail, which is absolutely mental.
Yep.
But then you put 250 on yours, which is fair because of the niche that you're going for. And yeah, I don't envy you.
Yeah. 250. I'm an engineer by trade, so I'm always a little conservative. But I say 250 because even for retail's Centenary, you're going to look at 150 is around the mark, right?
Yeah.
And then so that'll obviously lower the average, but then you've got those pieces where those really rare pieces that you've got to pay for to get them. So James Hird's jumper, West Coast or Fitzroy jumpers, they're much higher in price, and it only takes a couple of those to really lift that average up. So I think 250 is probably, it's around the mark anyway, 200, 250.
That's fair, to be honest. Uh, all right. Is there anything other than footy jumpers you collect?
I am very proud to say no, actually. I'm a dedicated footy jumper collector. I probably started little collections on the side, but I'm pretty much constrained it now. And yeah, once I finish 96, it's just going to be a matter of upgrading constantly, and I'm really gonna strictly call it there. I did branch out to collect heritage jumpers, but I pulled the pin on that pretty quickly because I realized how enormous that was going to be. And Essendon, I do that on the side, but it's nowhere near as dedicated as the 96 collection. So yeah, pretty much just footy jumpers at this stage.
Man, it's the best place to be in because, like I mentioned before, I collect wrestling belts as well now, which I should never have got back into because looking at $400 to $500 a pop, and I've got 13 or 14 of them now. That's a lot of jumpers that I've missed out on.
Yeah, that's unbelievable. Actually, I did see your Fremantle one that you made.
Yeah.
You got made up, did you? It was and
Yep.
took it to training or something. That was pretty impressive.
Yeah, so I had that made from a guy in Pakistan who actually makes most of my belts now. They do incredible work over there, and much better than what you can get from the shops. And I just thought one day that it'd be really cool. But I'm always looking for something unique to get the players to sign. I'm always getting Dave Mundy to sign something for me. So I thought, instead of a jumper for a change, how about I try something different? So I got the belt made up and took it to the Christmas party, and I expected to get maybe 3 or 4 signatures on it. And every player was there, and they all absolutely loved the belt. So I had them coming to me to sign it rather than me going to them. So yeah, that was really cool.
Very interesting reactions from the players, but
yeah, I got tons of interesting reactions. I had Cam McCarthy following me around all day because he wanted to keep looking at it, and he kept saying to me that I had to take it to a game one day and hold it up for the crowd, and he wanted to see it on TV. So he followed me around constantly telling me that. So shout out to Cam McCarthy. I'm sure he's listening.
Should cut a deal with him. He runs over, gives you a James Hird style hug in the pocket. Deal.
Yeah, well, I've actually had to move my seat down. I was actually sitting level 5, but since then I've had to move it down because I told him I sat level 5, and he said, no, I'll get you sorted out. I'll move you down to level 3, so at least we can get you on TV. So,
how good's that?
Yeah. So we'll get that belt on TV, and if you haven't seen it, check it out on the Facebook page. I ended up getting 22 of the squad to sign it, so I've got a few more to get to sign it, but most of them are done now. So, yeah, it looks really cool, and if you ever want one made up, just send me a message and I can help you out with that.
Sounds like an absolute belter.
Well done.
Yeah, thanks, Dad.
All right, so you mentioned your partner's home and you weren't too afraid to tell me how much you spent. So what does she think of you collecting?
Yeah, she doesn't give a lot away in that space. I think she sees how much I enjoy it, though. I think everyone's got to have a really good hobby to keep them occupied, like away from work stuff. And she sees how much it all means to me, and she's really supportive of it. And at least that's as far as I'm aware. I'm sure there's other comments she might say to other people, but I try to keep it within reason, and I make sure it doesn't affect our lifestyle or anything. So I think I'm pretty disciplined with that. So I think she's on board.
Yeah, good call. And you've always got to keep them around too if they're supportive of it. So found it good, in other words.
I need someone to talk to about all this stuff. So.
No, fair enough. So a specific collection like yours, I know you've already mentioned that the importance of jumper collecting community is rather large, and you've already mentioned some people that have helped you along the way. Is there anyone else you'd like to thank along the way of helping you out with your collection, or have you got any shout-outs you would like to make?
Yeah. So, well, there's a massive amount, but there's a few that I'll just mention, a few more noteworthy ones, I'll say. So the Melbourne trio, Joel, Dave, and Paul have been really helpful, and they've all added to my collection at some stage or another. Mm-hmm. I'd also like to thank Andrew Bennett, the Adelaide Crows collector. He's been really, really helpful with a couple of items. There's one coming in at the moment, which I can't wait to throw on the page. So, he's been awesome. Paul Mirror has been great. Just guys that I regularly chat to as well. I won't go on and name all of those, but just they know who you are. I should say you know who you are. Thanks a lot, and the more we keep in touch and help each other out, it's going to benefit our own collections significantly as we keep collecting. So it really is our best, our most powerful tool as a collector is the network. So I really want to push that and encourage everyone to make their own page, because I love following everyone's collections as well, and it just makes you the first person people think of for that particular club, and that's what you want as a collector.
Absolutely. Fantastic tips there. Well done. All right, man, we're about to ride off into the sunset. So I've got one last question for you, and it's the one that I always end it with. What is the one jumper that you don't have in your collection that you would like to get your hands on?
Yep, great question, and I'm going to easily answer that. The two favorite designs I said, were the Doggies away strip and the Frio away strip, the green machine, as I call it. I've only got 2 mock-ups in my collection, and it's those 2 jumpers. So if there's any 2 I could add right now, it's going to be those 2, and it's a dead heat. So I can't give you one over another.
That's incredible.
And the thing is, I know where pretty much every jumper I need, I know where they are. It's just that they're not for sale. So as long as I keep helping people out and doing the right thing, then hopefully good karma will happen and they'll end up in my collection one day.
That's right. Eventually life has to give way. So keep on it, and you never know what can happen.
Absolutely. Same thing for the Clive, right?
Yeah. Let's not talk about the Clive right now. One day she'll be mine. All right, man. So really, really appreciate having you on today. I know everyone was clamoring to hear from you, and just your niche collection is unbelievable. You're the only one that I've seen with it. So it's great to see. Keep going with it. I know you will. And it's just an absolute beauty to see. So thank you very much. And I'm sure everyone's going to love hearing from you today. And I hope you enjoyed yourself. I know I did.
Thanks, Matt. I had an absolute ball. I was looking forward to having a chat, and I hope all the listeners enjoy it. And like I said earlier, if anyone's got any questions for me, I'm really happy to just have a chat and try and clarify anything, because I'm sure other people can help me learn some things about 96 as well. So
absolutely.
Just
hit them with your Facebook page one more time, man, so they don't forget where to find you.
Yep. So on Facebook, it's AFL Centenary Year Collection. Look for the James Hird long sleeve Centenary jumper in the profile photo. And then Instagram, it's at AFL Centenary Year Collection 1996.
Awesome, man. And as the Skywalkers say, may the force be with you. Have a good one, dude.
Thanks, mate. Appreciate it.
There you go. How good was that? Always very interesting to hear from a collector who doesn't collect directly his team, which I haven't actually come across that as of yet. Obviously, I collect pretty much every team. However, I'm predominantly Fremantle, so it was very different to hear someone collects a whole range of things, but very specific to one year. So very different, very cool. I'm sure there's plenty more that he wants to talk about that he hadn't spoken about on the show. As a matter of fact, he messaged me straight after and forgot to mention a particular jumper that he actually has that was pretty special. That was the 95 Allies jumper. So there you go. I mentioned that for him. But he's got a great collection. It's always great to follow his pages. So jump on there and make sure you give it a follow and just watch along. And obviously let him know if you see any Centenary jumpers or if you have any, because I'm sure he would love to pick up some more for his collection. But in saying that, if you've got any free one-on-ones, let me know. Anyways, we'll move along. So I'll just quickly go through what I picked up in this last month or 2 months since we've last spoken. Actually hasn't been that much, it's been a little bit, but what I find is incredible is I've been saying for the last couple of years that usually this time of the year, from off-season till the next season, is usually dead, and you don't really see anything on eBay or Gumtree, very, very small amount anyway, but this year has been unbelievable. There has been so many jumpers and even some absolute quality come up, so I don't know if it's good for the market, flooding the market possibly, but yeah, it is insane that there are so many jumpers out there, but you can pick yourself up a really good one and pick up some great bargains. So just a bit of a note, don't turn yourself off during the off season, because there is still plenty to be had. So what I got in the off-season so far is I've got myself a 2018 Luke Ryan home Indigenous jumper. I also got his 2017 away Indigenous jumper that he wore during training. I also picked up Aaron Sandland's 2018 home training worn jumper. So thank you, Aaron Sandland, for all your services again. Great to have some of his stuff in my collection. And definitely the biggest one I picked up in the off-season came last week, right before our chat with Doug, which I mentioned in a little bit during the interview. I picked up from Khan. Thank you very much, Khan. I'm absolutely stoked with this jumper. It's absolutely gorgeous. Beautiful quality, great shape. You can tell it has been worn, but it's still in fantastic shape. Thankfully, the bloke only played probably 3 games in it, but it is gorgeous. And what's great about it is it's a Centenary jumper, but it has actually got the Centenary badge sewn over where the old badge used to live. So you can still see the outline of the original AFL logo on there, and being the way he had 1 year previous to that, you can tell that it was from the 95 season. And I believe that we even moved into possibly the sports wall in 96. So hopefully I'm right there. I'm not too sure. Hopefully you can correct me. I'm sure Doug, you would know, being the 96 man. But it looks to me like this was worn by Neil Mildenhall in the 95 season. So it is a Dockers jumper, as I forgot to mention, sorry. Neil Mildenhall was the only number 50 that Fremantle ever had, so really cool to own that and have it in the collection. It is signed on the front by Ben Allen, which will probably look to get removed. Not that I didn't like Ben Allen, but just having somebody else's signature on the jumper is just a bit odd, and to have this as the clean Centenary jumper would just be gorgeous. So back to the Centenary reasoning. I believe that 95 he would have worn this jumper, and then 96 they would have badged it, more than likely as a blood spare. So you see that generally the higher numbers, usually 50 onwards, were used as blood spares in the time in that era. Whereas if someone had blood all over their jumper, usually they didn't have too many spares of their particular number. They would come out wearing a higher number jumper in the 50 plus as a blood spare that they used to have in their locker. So this one, I believe, more than likely was worn by Neil Mildenhall, and I am trying to get a hold of him to confirm that as well, in the 95 season, and then I believe it's rebadged as a 96 Centenary spare. So it's amazing anyway to have something that would definitely have been done from the club in 96 as far as the badging goes. So technically you can say it definitely is a Centenary jumper. That it was also worn in the match in the 95 season is tremendous. So definitely one of my best in my collection. So thank you very much to Khan for that. I absolutely love it. It is absolutely gorgeous. I also picked up a 2000 Paul Salmon home player issue Hawks jumper. Jumper is absolutely massive, and I got that somewhere in the depths of Queensland. Picked it up from Gumtree, of all places, for $30. Absolutely mental price, but they didn't want to post it, which was frustrating. I hate when that happens because it's not hard to post. It's very easy, actually, but what I found is these people were so far in the depths of Gold Coast that they didn't have a post office anywhere near them, so they just couldn't be bothered going to the post office, so fair enough. Thankfully, I actually have a brother that just moved over there recently, and he was able to go about 20 kilometres up the highway and pick it up for me. So that was tremendous. And then luckily, even better, I had my nephew flying back from there 3 days later, back home to Perth for a holiday. So he didn't even have to pay postage. So he brought it over with him, and I picked it up from him on Saturday night, and here I am with it in the collection now. So beautiful jumper, huge, possibly worn. I'm not 100% on that, but yeah, it was fantastic to add to the collection. The other one I added today, actually, that has arrived already. I've got more coming along the way, but this one is another blood spare jumper. So there we are, 2 blood spare jumpers in a matter of 2 weeks. This one's the Sydney Swans number 59. So definitely the highest number I have in my collection. Used to own a Ryan Crowley number 51, but this is now the highest I have now, 59. Sydney Swans jumper. So 1997 Sydney Swans blood spare. Fully signed on the front. I haven't been able to locate Plugger Locket as yet. Could very well be on there, but I only received it this morning, so I haven't actually fully gone over with a fine-tooth comb yet. So I will do that a bit later see if I can find him, but I actually wouldn't be surprised if he isn't on there. I know he is a little bit touchy as far as signing goes, so he may not be on there, but I won't be upset if he's not. It is a great looking jumper and just really cool to have in the collection. It actually arrived in a giant box, so they sent it on Monday. Today's Wednesday. It arrived this morning, and the lady said it would be arriving 9 to 14 days, so it arrived really quickly from the complete other side of the country. And it was in a giant box, and I thought, what the hell is this? What have I ordered that's in a giant box? Opened it up, and it was still attached to just the backing of the frame that it used to be in. So that was interesting, because they said they didn't want to damage it, so good on them. Thank you very much. They didn't charge me any extra for postage. As a matter of fact, they didn't charge me for postage at all. So I picked that up for $100, and that was a fantastic deal, I think. I was really happy with that. It actually came off the backing really easily. There was some staples in it, but it was only in the collar itself, so it really didn't do any damage at all, and you really can't see anything. So it came off within about a minute. So I was stoked with that. I was a little bit disappointed to see the number 59. I was hoping to see a player who, obviously a decent player, had worn it, but still very cool to have in their collection, being a blood spare. You don't see a lot of them. As a matter of fact, there aren't that many of them. So yes, that is what I have added as far as what I have received. I've got a couple more on the way. I have a GWS jumper. I'm just going through my Australia Post tracking right now. I have a GWS jumper. I'm just trying to remember what that is. You ever get that where you buy so many jumpers that you don't even know what's on the way? Well, this is that time. So what is this? I bought a GWS jumper off Gumtree. Yes, I bought a Daniel Lloyd. I think that's his name. Sorry, Clint, if that's incorrect. It was a pre-season jumper, so 2019 pre-season jumper. The only reason I knew it was a pre-season is because it has the really small Virgin logo on the back. And when they moved into the season proper, the Virgin logo on the back was much larger. So thankfully they fixed that, because the Virgin logo in the JLT series looked really odd. It was really small. So number 38 GWS home jumper from the JLT pre-season. So I was stoked with that. I can't remember how much I paid for it, but it wasn't much at all, so very happy to pick that up. Also picked up an Ablett JLT jumper, so Gary Ablett JLT. Not sure if it was 18 or 19. Either way, it doesn't matter. I think they were exactly the same anyway. That one came from Brad Judd. Thank you, Brad. I didn't actually realise it was you when I put the offer in. Apologies if I came across a little bit rude saying that this is as much as I was going to offer, but truthfully, it probably was all I was going to pay anyway, but thank you very much for accepting it. I feel like we still got a great deal out of it. So thank you very much. I'm happy to have another Ablett get a Geelong jumper back in the collection, as I have had some and they've disappeared. So great to have them back again. That is it for me as far as what I have in my collection recently. As far as what I can see anyway, because I reckon I've got more than that, but oh well. That'll be it for now. We'll move on from that. Now, like I mentioned, there has been an insane amount of jumpers on eBay, Gumtree, etc. in the last couple months. So I'm not going to pull up every single thing that I've seen, because I will be here till probably next Christmas trying to tell you about them all. So I'll go through a couple of the larger ones that I saw. First one, 2018, North Melbourne, Ben Brown alternate jumper. Really cool. It had that really cool V on it on the front. I actually really liked the design. I was very tempted to myself. It is signed on the back by Ben Brown as well, and it has a COA. It only went for $169, so that really is a steal for a quality player. He kicks plenty of goals every single year, so $169 is a great deal. I really wish I did go on it, to be honest. I also saw, now this was incredibly surprising, a pair of West Coast Eagles 2019 player issue worn shorts. I was like, yeah, okay, they're pretty nice shorts. They might go for $80-90. No, I was very wrong. It went for $230.50. Unbelievable. I believe I know who sold them, and if you can let me know if the seller or the buyer actually did pay for them, that'd be great, because that really surprised me that they went for that much. I also saw a Robert Murphy. It looks like a 2015, 2014, somewhere around there. No, it's not. Sorry. It looks like a 2012 or 13 Robert Murphy away clash signed on the front. Go for $218.50. One that also surprised me quite a lot was a number 40 player edition, or player issue. It says player edition on the logo, you know what the Puma does. 2019 Clash jumper for the Richmond Tigers, number 40, as I mentioned. Go for $142. Now that was incredibly surprising, being that it is a premiership season, and I haven't actually seen too many of the 2019 Richmond jumpers out there. So yeah, I was really surprised. Whoever picked that up, I think you did a really, really great job there. Still plenty of the number 25 Brisbane Lions jumpers out there. I mean, it was obviously pretty clear that it is a prototype number that they use. And like I mentioned earlier, that they're probably going to start dropping in price, and that pretty much is the case. The Clash 2019 went for $46, and the Fitzroy Clash went for $46, and the yellow Clash went for $84. Reason the yellow one would have gone for more, obviously, is a great design, and you see far less of those particular designs. Now, there was an interesting jumper that I've seen float around a few times, and I believe there was a very good reason for that. And this jumper is the 2017 China Port Adelaide player issue jumper with GPS pocket. However, it has a number 7 heat pressed onto the back. Why? I have no idea. I don't believe it was made for Brad Ebert to wear. Did I say Brad Ebert? Brad Ebert. Anyway, I don't believe it was made for Ebert to wear. I believe it was added afterwards, but that is just pure hearsay. But I have no reason as to why they would not have jumpers ready for him to go. They all had those jumper designs ready well before the game, so I could imagine, unless his got torn up before the game, that they were probably ready to go. So I don't understand why they would have a heat press one for him, unless there was only one in the kit at the time. But I would like to say that was probably added afterwards, and it was probably a prototype design. I'm not too sure, but that would be my thoughts. So I have seen that move a few times. One thing that annoys me a little bit, and like I mentioned in the open, as far as scamming goes, this may be an honest mistake, but I don't believe it was. Someone put it up on the Facebook page advertising it for trade or sale, and I could see straight away that it was the same jumper. I could clearly see that the number was very shiny, therefore a dead giveaway that it was a heat press number. I made a comment and said, is this a heat press number? And they said they don't know. Now, I'm very sorry, but if you're collecting jumpers, or even if you don't collect them, you know if it's heat pressed or if it's sublimated. If you don't know what that means, you need to look it up. Listen to my first episode or third episode, whichever one it was now, where I explain what heat press is. But it's not hard. Rub your finger over it, you can see it. It's much shinier. The actual number itself is completely different, totally different material. It is added on afterwards. You know what it is you're looking at. If someone says to use a heat press number, you know it is or not. This person said they don't know. I call bollocks on that. So I just want you to be very careful asking questions. And if you're not sure, ask other people as well. Don't just go on what they say. Maybe just ask other collectors. There are plenty out there who will be able to help you out with that. Because there are plenty of people that just still want to just get a few bucks out of you and won't tell you the whole truth. So make sure that we are following up with other collectors who will tell you the honest truth. Also saw a large long sleeve prototype Geelong Clash jumper. The stripes are inverted, the colours are inverted, so it's more blue and real slim white stripes. So it was really cool actually. It's a pity they didn't use it. I know they did a Clash jumper similar a couple of years ago where they just had the giant G on the front. I actually really liked it. I had Joel Selwood's version of it, and they were intending to wear it, but unfortunately they never did. This one I'm not sure. I never even saw it as far as anybody talking about it. So I don't know if they intended to wear it or not, but it's really cool. Long sleeve number 50. It's probably a prototype. It's a core one, so it's a 2017, I believe. But yeah, it was quite cool. That one went for $100. There was a Luke Hodge Hawks jumper. I believe it was a 2009 10-ish player issue, double extra large. He did wear them quite big, so that's not a big surprise. Come with a GPS pocket, so yeah, definitely player issue. Sublimated numbers, GPS pocket, and the Hawks logo embedded into the jumper. Go for $236.50. A lot of love for Hodgie after he retired. So not a big surprise to see it go for that much. Another jumper I saw that was a little bit disappointing is a Stephen May 2011 player issue jumper. Chances are it was actually match worn. GWS, Gold Coast rather. The Gold Coast Suns actually issued all of their 2011 COAs as player issue when they sent out their jumpers. It also does state on it that the player issue Guernsey was worn during 2011 season. So the wording was a little bit confusing. It also says during the Northern Eastern AFL Conference, so it could be worn in the NEFL, but I don't know about that. But their COAs were a little bit odd, but there was a clash number 45, Stephen May, which I do know who got it, and unfortunately the jumper went missing in the mail, so hopefully we see that jumper pop up again one day, otherwise it will be lost forever, which will be very sad. Dane Beams 2018 Indigenous also went for $100. Jake King training jumper went for $162.50. Very cool claw design. There was a number 35 Bombers warm-up top go for $123. That one surprised me a bit. It's quite a nice little design, but there's no name on the back of the jumper, which something on the back of the warm-up top, sorry. Usually that helps with the value, so I was surprised to see it go for $123.50. And a 2011 Ryan Hargrave Bulldogs jumper went for $71, so very interesting value-wise there. I would have thought it'd be worth a bit more. 2011 Mitch Clark Lions jumper went for $83. Again, maybe a little bit low. Then there was an Alex Vasolo Carlton jumper go for $293. So 2019 Carlton jumper, $293. Obviously Carlton, or Nike rather, had given up on manufacturing good-looking jumpers as far as 2018-19 goes, and they'd heat pressed them all. Luckily, they still look good on TV. Not so great in hand as far as I'm concerned, just purely because they're all heat pressed and it's just lazy on Nike's behalf. But as we've seen, Puma have released their jumpers as far as Carlton goes, and they look mint, and they will look fantastic in hand. I think you Carlton boys are going to be very, very happy. Girls and boys, that is. Don't let me step on my own feet again. And also just recently a 2000 Brisbane Lions fully signed jumper, number 39. Really, really cool. Great year. Unfortunately, the back of the jumper was really damaged from an old frame job. So lots of staple holes and glue that put me off, and it went for $76. So really cheap. I probably still should have grabbed it, but unfortunately I did not. There's plenty still going at the moment. So like I say, no let up during the off season. So jump on eBay, grab yourself some great jumpers. Make sure you're checking out Gumtree because there's still plenty rolling through there as well. You can even pick them up really cheap from Grandma, Grandpa, or in the depths of Gold Coast. I'm going to wind it down now. Just going to quickly say one more thing about the fires and everyone's auctions and raising money, etc., etc. It's fantastic, obviously. Obviously, you've seen, I hope you've seen, that the AFL are talking about doing a State of Origin, which will more than likely be an exhibition game between the Victorians and the All-Stars. Now, I'm sure you remember the 2008 game. It would be fantastic. Obviously, they'll be able to raise lots of money, but if you're able to get to that game, I'm sure it will be at Marvel. Please make sure you go. Not just for the fact that we're raising money for the animals and for obviously the welfare of people who lost homes and property and things like that, but the fact that if we sell out that venue, there's every chance that they'll continue to look at doing State of Origin in the future. And I don't know about you, but I love State of Origin. And I cannot wait to see what happens with those jumpers. Obviously, this being a collecting podcast, I cannot wait to see what they do. I can imagine this year's ones, if they do it, which is looking incredibly likely. The chances are that they'll auction off all those jumpers for the charities, which means that they'll go very, very high value. So obviously I won't be able to pick up any, and a lot of you might not be able to either. But there are some out there who are a little bit more value, a little bit more better off than us. So I'm hoping that you guys can pick some of those up and put them up on the page and we can have a look, because there will be some fantastic opportunities to pick up some great jumpers here, and it'll be for a very worthy cause. So get your checkbooks out, get your credit cards ready, and pick up some fantastic jumpers. And like I say, if you got a chance to go, please do. Make sure you donate when you're going as well. Gold coin, whatever it is. I'm sure they'll have tin rattlers. Please donate. Make sure we save some animals as much as we can. and help out some people who are in need and lost a lot of their stuff. So, our fellow collectors could have lost their whole house, could have lost a whole heap of jumpers. So let's make sure that we are donating every penny we can to help these people out. And like I keep saying, I love the animals. I'm sure you all love animals as well. And then we're going to need to help these animals out because we've lost over half a billion animals, I believe, at this stage. So we need to help out as much as we can. Get out there, throw some donations into the tin. Make sure you attend the game. If we sell this game out every reason, we can make a ton of money for these people, and we can also see if we can continue doing it in the future. So please get along and enjoy the game, obviously. But most of all, let's make sure we make a ton of money for these people. That is going to do it for episode 13. I feel like I have missed a lot of stuff, but like I said, I'll be here all night if I do not cut it off right now. So we'll be going back to our normal format of having an interview every 2 weeks, or at least having an episode every 2 weeks. Obviously, if you would like to be on the show, I keep saying this, but if you would like to be on the show, please do send me a message on the Facebook pages at Player Issue Podcast, or send me a message at AFL Guernsey Collection page, and let me know that you would like to come on and tell me a little bit about your collection, and maybe send me some photos of your collection so I can get some research going and know who it is I am going to be talking to, because we all want to hear your stories. Plenty of people out there want to listen. We have now over 1,200 listeners, which is tremendous, and I want to get it out there to you as much as I can, and I'm sure you all want to tell your stories. So that's going to do it for episode 13 today. I look forward to coming back to you in the next couple of weeks with episode 14. Good luck in your collecting hunts this week, the next couple of weeks, and that's going to do it. Ta-ta for now, and good night.